In the spirit of a new year and new beginnings, I've dedicated the month of January to topics that help us set our course for the year ahead. Last week we talked about how to improve productivity. Today we're looking at the other side of goal setting, the problem. Everyone wants to do more, be better, achieve more. But not everyone is able to do this. And it is not always as a result of lack of trying, commitment or drive. So I'm asking the question some of us should probably ask more. Is our goal setting strategy wrong? And with me to discuss this is Mr. Adeboye Martins, Executive Coach at Marita Learning Center. Adeboye Martins is a certified coach with a background in behavioral psychology methodologies, specializing in the development of effective leadership in business. He works as a coach, a facilitator, and a trainer with established companies and also entrepreneurs and C-suite executives in rising startups. He's also a trained generative coach, a member of the International Association of Generative Change, and also the International Coaching Federation. Welcome, Mr. Martins.
Hello, Feran.
It really is. I'm still like, OMG, Mr. Martins is here, yay! So yeah, I really am quite excited, and let's delve right in. So we're talking about the problem with goal setting.
Right.
But first, what is goal setting?
Well, goal setting is coming up with something you desire, usually some desired outcome, striving to define it in as clear terms as possible, putting a timeline on it perhaps, and then looking for setting that as the starting point of a plan to get there.
Okay.
So that's my understanding of goal setting.
A lot of people usually use goal setting as it relates to their professional lives. Can you use it for every area of your life?
Absolutely. In fact, we always set goals. It's the way we operate. We are goal-setting creatures. Every living organism is a goal-setting creature.
I see.
For instance, when you're hungry, you don't just sit down and bemoan your hunger. You set a goal as to how you are going to still the hunger, how you get a meal of some sort or the other. So goal setting is an integral part of our existence. It's fundamental to how we operate in whatever environment we're in.
I see. So the world we live in has just made it sound like something unique, but in reality we've been doing it from time immemorial.
Absolutely. It's the way even animals set goals. I mean, how come a bird builds a nest, lays eggs in it, sits on them, sometimes for up to, 2 weeks, hatches them, feeds? Oh, these are goal-oriented things, yes.
So what's the problem with goal setting?
The problem with goal setting is the way, exactly what you said, we treat it as some special arcane methodology known to only a few, That's the problem with goal setting. We've made it the province of those we call the successful few. It's the province of every human being. And it's natural to every living organism. You see, when we understand goal setting, especially some of the people who articulated it the very best were a group of psychologists, Miller, Pribram, in the late 1950s, early 1960s. They came up with a structure they called the TOTI, the test, operate, test, exit. It's a way of describing how we set goals and go for them. How all organisms set goals and go for them. First we conceive the goal, the first test, then we take some measure towards it. Then we check for feedback, am I going in the right direction or not? And if I'm going in the right direction, then I exit and I establish another goal. Everybody does this. Even machines do it, because we've taught machines, or we've built machines to mechanize our own functions. So goal setting, what these people showed, the implications of it was that everybody's a goal setter, and everybody is built for success. Success is not something that only a few have, the better amongst us, those who went to the best schools. Success is the realm of everybody. And to some degree or the other, we're all successful. We survive from day to day. We achieve our goals. We eat. We chase our jobs. We learn some things. So we are naturally successful to one degree or the other. The thing is, if we can bring more to awareness how we are successful, then we can be more deliberate and more far-reaching with our success. And that's what some people do. That makes it seem like a strange, you know, arcane art known only to the few. It's known to everybody. We do it all the time.
So how do we navigate around it? Because from even a personality perspective, could it be that sometimes how we're trying to set these goals that we already are setting and we don't maybe realize we're setting could be the problem?
I think it is. You see, the goals we set and we succeeding are well embedded in our values, in what's important to us. Let me explain something. There are two aspects of every living organism, the conscious and the unconscious. The conscious is what we use to engage at any one point in time, the outer world, the circumstances of our lives, right? And that's also how we set goals consciously.
Okay.
The unconscious is the much greater part of us, but we're not fully aware of it. It comes to light from time to time, but we're not fully aware of it. But that's where most of us is. You know, that's the level of automation. For instance, when we learn something, right? We start off, think of when you learn to ride a bicycle. You do ride a bicycle, don't you?
I used to.
You used to, okay. So you fell off quite a few times, right?
Yes.
Because you were trying to do it consciously. That's the way we start learning. But after a while, it became automated, right?
Yes.
You didn't know how you rode, you just got on and started pedaling and
like
balancing.
Driving a car.
Like driving a car. And that's when it becomes unconscious. And so what happens is that once you've learned the skill well, the conscious guides the unconscious in doing it. But the unconscious is the level of competence, of really doing something well. Anything we do with our consciousness alone is not very competent.
I see.
That's why, you know, when we're learning something new, we struggle, we make mistakes.
Yes.
But once the unconscious takes it up,
Yeah.
then we become competent. So if in our goal setting, we do not consider our deeper self, we're not going to do it very well. And our deeper self manifests in our values, our sense of purpose, our sense of meaning, you know? Now, I'm sure there's some goals in your life you know that nothing can stop you.
True.
Yeah. And there's some goals you try for and, you know, you get frustrated. It didn't work this year. You hope it'll work next year, right? The goals that nothing and nobody can stop you on are the goals that in which you have an alignment between your conscious and your unconscious. They're things rooted in your values, the things you will fight for, to live for, or you'll even be ready to die for.
I see.
Right? And then you have some goals that don't engage your unconscious self, your subconscious self. And so they're not, you know, you're not doing them with any sense of conviction, that alignment, and so you might be lucky, you might get through, and you might not be.
So you're doing them because society demands it of you.
Society, or you see your friends doing it, it'd be a nice to have, you know, the nice to haves. So the people who are habitually successful in most of their goals know about this alignment.
Okay.
And let me give you another instance from daily life which illustrates the alignment. There really is no chemical difference between an inert iron bar and a magnet.
Okay.
There's no chemical difference. The same thing. And actually, an iron bar that doesn't show any magnetic quality is made up at the molecular level of thousands, maybe millions of little magnets. But they're not aligned.
I see.
They're all scattered. So the way they make an iron bar, we used to do this in laboratories, you know, is you align it with a strong magnetic field and you bang it, you vibrate it.
So it shatters the magnet.
So the molecules begin to align. You know, they're tiny little magnets. They begin to align, and once they're sufficiently aligned, then there's an emergent magnetic field from the iron bar. But basically, an iron bar has the same structure as a magnet.
Okay.
All right? So, if we align ourselves inwardly and consciously, we develop some personal force. In other words, if we're aligned with our values, with what's truly important for us, the things we're ready to live for, live by, or even die for, then we become a force that can bring about change in the world. And any goals we set based on that framework of values and purpose and meaning are most likely to be fulfilled because they have our entire force behind them.
That's deep.
But if we just set goals based on what's popular now, what's everybody doing, if our environmental circumstances are favorable, we might drift towards the goals and succeed. But if they're not so favorable, then we don't have enough force. It's no personal deficiency. It's that we are not aligning ourselves, aligning our unconscious with our conscious and becoming the powerhouses that we should be in life.
So this is why a lot of people go through this yo-yo effect. I'm assuming when sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
Yes,
and then they become despondent.
Yes. Because they're just sort of going with the flow and they're not taking a stand on what really has meaning to them, what really is their purpose in life, what really are their values.
So, should we be setting goals?
Oh yes, but we should do so knowing what's really important to us, based on what our sense of meaning in life is, based on what our sense of purpose, our discovered sense of purpose. And to discover a sense of purpose, to know what really is important for us in life, we need to do quite some reflection. It's striking that some of the really impactful world leaders, some of them, not all, have been to jail and spent quite some time in solitude, like thinking through Mandela, Anwar Sadat, others, Mahatma Gandhi, quite a few. Because in those moments of enforced solitude, they really think through, they really become aligned with what's really key to them and what they will give their all for. Or they've had near-death experiences. There's a lovely speech, a Stanford commencement speech by Steve Jobs on YouTube, in which he speaks about how his near-death moments with cancer really helped him to face what was important to him and strip away the waste, become aligned in himself, and we know what a powerhouse he was.
So I hear you, but it sounds easier said than done. And in a world where survival, the need to survive, has become even more integral, how do you gain this alignment whilst you're trying to survive? Just, like basic, you need money to even get from A to B. And then somebody's telling you that you need to find your alignment.
Finding your alignment is a choice. You can allow yourself to drift. Nobody's forcing you. You can allow yourself to drift from one survival mode, one survival situation to the other, or you can take a stand and stand back and reflect. Of course, you have to survive and still do these things, but are you thinking? Are you learning? You see, we can go through a lot of experience and not learn because we don't reflect, which is what a lot of us do in a lot of aspects of our lives. And so we grow older, but we don't go wiser. Yeah? Or we can reflect. We can cut out moments. We really try to get a hang on what's going on. Why am I alive? Why are these things happening to me? Is there any way I can change things from happening? That's when we begin to learn. That's when we begin to grow wise. So reflection, taking out time to reflect, is really important if you want to improve your life, to make changes in your life. But if you're ready to go along, it's a free choice. Nobody's forcing anybody to set goals or consider the purpose of their lives.
So in reality, part of self-awareness, I guess, is being true to yourself and deciding Does this matter or does it not matter?
Well, finding out first who you are, you know. Most people who run hither, thither, just struggling for survival, have no idea who they are. And I'm not talking in terms of who's your family, what's your status. I'm talking about what matters to you, what's the meaning to your life, what's the purpose, you know. There's hardly anybody who will say, my life has no purpose. Well, there are some, but they're very few, you know. But what is the purpose of your life? What have you reflected on? What have you discovered about yourself? Self-knowledge. Yeah, self-awareness. So.
Wow. So if I wanted to go away with a blueprint of sorts or a guiding principle, are there some basic things that I need to begin to do to be able to get me back into alignment for the purpose of achieving my objectives?
Well, yes. Reflect on the purpose of your life. Why are you alive? What have you discovered about yourself? Reflect on who you are. Look for connections between cause and effect.
What do you mean?
When things happen to you, it's easy to, you know, we have nostrums, we have ways of saying it's this person's fault. It's the popular one is home trouble, you know, or your village people, you know, and ascribing events in our lives, the unpleasant events to others, and of course the pleasant events to ourselves. I'm blessed, I'm favored, you know. I was clever, I had a moment of insight, but then when something unpleasant happens, it's them, it's her, it's him, you know. So striving to get beyond that and look for the actual connections of cause and effect in our lives, just through reflection, considering our experience and seeing if we can detect patterns, you know. So everybody in my office is so fractious and they're always arguing with me and they're always so offensive. What about the times when people are pleasant with you? Now, how are you and what do you do when people are so fractious and offensive to you? Are you part of the loop or is it just something that people do? And how are you when people are friendly and kind and generous to you? Are you in the same mood as when people are fractious to you? Do you understand? So you begin to discover, oh, I play a part in all these things. When people are horrible to me, sometimes they're just horrible, but sometimes I've given cause for it. And then when people are kind to me, oh, I notice that every time they're kind to me, I'm polite, I'm a bit respectful, I think of them affectionately. You know, begin to trace cause and effect in your life. And you realize that you're not the helpless creature, the victim of fate that we frequently so often like to portray ourselves as, but that we do play a role in what happens to us. So this can only come through reflection, through observation, reflection, you know, looking for patterns.
And then once you've done that, what next?
Well, you begin to realize that how you are inwardly plays a great role in what happens to you, whether you succeed immensely, whether you succeed partially, or whether you fail. And you begin to work with that. You know what's important to you, and you incorporate that into your goal setting. You know what's not important to you, and so you don't waste too much time trying to invest your resources in things that you want to do because others are doing them.
Like a lot of people, at the beginning of the year, it's always about New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Setting my goals. I want to do more. I want to achieve more.
Right.
But then at the end of the year, it's usually like, okay.
Right.
So this is essentially a way, what you're essentially saying is you need to first step back and just reassess. Before you then forge ahead.
Absolutely.
What if the person says, I've tried all of this, but it still hasn't worked? What then?
Well, that's not usually the case. I work with, as you introduced me as a coach, and I work with people, and I help them in this way. And I find almost all the time those whose goals are embedded in what's really important to them. You know, they get galvanized by their goals, you know. They're ready to jump in wholeheartedly. When you're ready to jump into anything wholeheartedly, you immensely increase your chances of success. You look at any endeavor, they're the people who are in it all the way. And then they're the also-rans and the people who are following along, and the camp followers and things like that. Yeah.
Wow. This... If my folks were watching, they'd probably be like, yes, we could see you having your eureka moments. So I'm really quite happy we did this, because I don't think people talk about this side of goal setting as often as they should. Thank you so much. As always, we've come to the end, but it's been really impactful, and I'm grateful.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. So we've come to the end. I really do hope you had your pen and paper handy and you took down some notes, because this is powerful. It really is. John, Helen and myself will very quickly round off the show. So please stay with us for a few more minutes. Thank you.